Paula Dreeszen, a volunteer preserve steward here at Arcadia Dunes, the C.S. Mott Nature Preserve. Today we're back here at Pete's Woods for a late spring wildflower hike. Late spring means the trees are fully leafed out, it's darker on the forest floor, the trillium are done, but there's a lot of little clusters of white and lavender flowers. So let's get started and see what we find. This plant here is Herb Robert. It has a fern-like lacy leaf, a 5-petaled pink flower with stripes. Flowers look a lot like spring beauty, but the foliage is different. This plant is kind of interesting because it's considered a circumpolar species, native to both North America and Europe. I've seen this plant grow in Scotland. It is a plant that we find in some disturbed sites, so after there's some logging, Herb Robert will move in. So it's like a pioneer species. And out in the western United States, it is considered introduced out there, but it is a native here and a circumpolar plant. This plant is called Sweet Cicely. It has a fern-like leaf, tiny little white flowers. The cluster of flowers, or the flowering form of a plant, is called the inflorescence. And on Sweet Cicely, the type of inflorescence is an umbel, which means the flowering stems all originate from one point. In a Sweet Cicely, it's kind of like a double. There's little stems that originate from the center, and then little stems that originate again. Tiny little flowers. It kind of reminds me of a fireworks. Oh, it like explodes out and then explodes out again. So that's Sweet Cicely. Late in the summer and the fall, the seed pods are really sticky. They stick to your clothes and your dog's fur. They're thin and long, about like a wild rice kernel. This plant, again, we talked about last time. It's false Solomon seal. Arching stem, alternate leaves with the flowering, the inflorescence on the end. This type of inflorescence is called a raceme, where the flowers branch off the center stem. The inflorescence on false Solomon seal is like a plume, and an alternate common name for this plant is Solomon's plume, a little less negative name for the plant. This plant is Bellwort. We were here in mid-spring when the yellow flowers were in bloom, the dangles with the twist. And I said that when the plant is done blooming, the foliage perks up. So it's all perked up. When it's all perked up, you can most easily see that this is a perfoliate plant, which means it looks like the stem is perforating and going right up through the leaves. That's kind of interesting. Another interesting thing is the little seed pod or fruit. It's like a tetrahedron, a pyramid with a triangular base. It's kind of cool. When hiking in late spring and summer, it's a good idea to wear long pants. One of the reasons is because of this plant here, stinging nettle. Stinging nettle is a native plant of our forests, but when you brush up against it with bare skin, it does cause a stinging sensation. Usually only, for most people, it only lasts about 20 minutes, so it's not like poison ivy or anything. Here at Pete's Woods, when it gets too thick and close to the trail, we do cut it back a little bit, but if that's not been done where you're hiking, long pants will keep your legs from stinging. This plant here is foam flower. It looks pretty foamy, doesn't it? The flowers are delicate little white flowers off a center stem, so that's a raceme. The leaves are kind of like heart-shaped or like a maple leaf. Kind of fuzzy, and the stems are a little fuzzy. The reason why this looks so foamy is that the flowers have conspicuously long stamens. So this is foam flower. This plant is Canada Mayflower. The flowers are also stalks or racemes with little white flowers. They're like little starbursts. Canada Mayflower is like a colonial spreader, so it makes a nice ground cover in the forest. Like trout lily, the single leaves in the colony are sterile and they don't have a flower. But the plants that have two leaves are fertile and they have the flower. So Canada Mayflower. This plant is Baneberry. There's a white Baneberry and a red Baneberry in northern Michigan. Here at Arcadia Dunes we just have the white Baneberry. The flower is a raceme, a cluster of white little flowers. The branching foliage is generally horizontal to catch as much of the light as it can in the forest. Late summer, fall, this will form white berries with little black dots on a red stalk. Those little white berries with black dot look like doll's eyes, and that's the other common name for this plant is doll's eyes. Baneberry. Bane means causing harm or death. So this plant was named that because it is poisonous, especially the berries. So white Baneberry. This plant here is Appendaged Waterleaf. The waterleaf plants start out at the beginning of the season with the first leaves are deeply cleft and they are spotted, kind of like a watermark. The later leaves are more maple leaf shaped. This particular one is Appendaged Waterleaf, which has fuzzy stems, fuzzy leaves, and lavender flowers that are up above the foliage. Here at Arcadia Dunes we also have Canada Waterleaf that has smooth stems, white flowers, and the flowers are under the leaves, so you have to lift up the leaves and see those. But this, with the lavender flowers, is Appendaged Waterleaf. Late spring is also the time to find peak blooms of wild blue phlox, another lavender flower here in the forest. Flowers 5 petals, opposite narrow leaves, and if you notice the leaves and the stems are slightly fuzzy and there's glands that make it slightly sticky. The sticky stems prevent ants from coming up and stealing valuable nectar. Anyways, it's real pretty. Wild blue phlox. Wild Sarsaparilla sends up 2 stalks from the root. One stalk has all the leaves. There's 3 compound leaves with 3 to 5 leaflets per leaf. The second stalk that they stand up is the flowering stalk, and that has 3 spherical umbels of tiny little white flowers. This plant isn't very showy now, but come fall, the leaves turn a bright gold color, which really brighten up the forest. And the name, Sarsaparilla, is kind of a name for root beer. Supposedly the rhizomes of this plant can be used for root beer, but the commercial root beer that we drink is made from a tropical species. Thanks for joining me on this hike, and I hope it made you realize that it's worthwhile to come back into the forest to see wildflowers after the trillium are in bloom. There are a couple of flowers that are blooming in the beech maple forest here at Arcadia Dunes that we don't happen to have here at Pete's Woods. If you hike other trails, you might see miterwort and columbine. Thanks a lot.